Hey guys, it's Dr. Jen Caudle, and I have not been live in a long time, so I'm so excited to see you guys. Um, you guys have been following my YouTube videos, and I so appreciate you guys for following my YouTube videos. You guys are amazing. We have almost 31,000 subscribers, so I love you guys dearly. You guys know I'm a family doctor, I'm an on-air health expert, and I'm a video creator. And I wanted to talk about that new study. You probably saw it in the news in the last few days about the CDC releasing a report saying that they looked at people who were diagnosed with COVID, and they found that people who were diagnosed with COVID compared to those who were not in this study were twice as likely to have revealed that they had dined at a restaurant in the 2 weeks prior. Which, by the way, guys, that's kind of really interesting stuff to take note of. So we're going to talk about that today. Guys, anyway, thank you for joining. Thanks for stopping on. Send super chats, send super stickers. Is that what they're called? Super stickers? I'm so new to this. I'm like, anyway, I'm so glad you guys are here. And thank you guys for following on this journey with me and checking out my YouTube channel. All right, so let's talk about this. Dining out. Is dining out a problem or is it not a problem? I mean, this new CDC study says, and I've actually got it right here, that in this particular study, and I'm literally reading from my laptop, so bear with me. Sorry for the noise, too. I'm outside. Said adults with positive SARS-CoV-2 test results were approximately twice as likely to have reported dining at a restaurant than those who had negative SARS-CoV-2 test results. This was in the study. So the question is it safe to eat out or is it not? Well, this study doesn't give us the final answer. It gives us some information, though, that I think is super, super important. The first thing is, well, yeah, this study was it was a small study. It was like 314 people in it. So can we necessarily extrapolate this to the entire world? No, we can't. And we don't know the safety measures that were being put in place in these restaurants. So we can't really speak to that. So the point being is there's a lot of caveats, but is this something to really think about? It totally is. Now, remember, guys, when we go out to eat, um, most of the things that we do when we leave the house, right? So hold on, let me get my mask. This is my mask, one of them, and I'm wearing my mask, doing my thing. But when we go out to eat, we can't wear our mask when we're eating and drinking, can we? Like when we're literally eating, taking a bite of that burger and drinking our soda or drinking the martini or whatever, you can't have the mask on. And that's something that's really, really important to keep note of. When we do other things, it's different. When you go to the grocery store, even though we should be social distancing and washing our hands and things like that, when you go shopping, when you are taking a walk in your neighborhood, you wear your mask and you keep it on. But when we're eating and drinking at restaurants, we can't always do that. That's one of the things that the CDC study said may be playing a role. Again, for those of you who just joined us, we're talking about that CDC study that suggested that people who were diagnosed with COVID in the study were twice as likely to have reported going to a restaurant in the 2 weeks prior than those who were not diagnosed with COVID. So it leaves us to say, is it safe to go to a restaurant? All right, so a few other things to keep in mind. Another reason why it may not be so conclusive, this study, but still is very important, is a lot of this is going to depend on what the restaurant is doing, right? Is the restaurant keeping tables 6 feet apart? Are waiters and waitresses, are they wearing face shields? Are they wearing face masks? I'll see here, I talked about 6 feet apart. How close are you to other people at the restaurant? How long are you keeping your mask on or off, depending on what you're eating and how long you're eating? How long are you sitting at the table with your family and friends? Like, how long are you potentially exposed? What are the hygiene precautions and procedures of the restaurant? Like, what are they doing? So all of these things actually do make a difference when it comes to how safe we might or might not be when it comes to going to a restaurant and wearing our mask. So a few things. This is what I would take from this, guys, and this is what I actually suggest. It's still, the safest thing is still not going to a restaurant, but say cooking your meals at home, right? Obviously, we know being at home is the safest. I would say it's still definitely safer to get takeout, right? You're not sitting at a restaurant, you're doing takeout. Um, if you choose to go to a restaurant, understand that there are some risks involved depending on what's going on. It's always safer to eat outside than it is to eat inside. And thank you guys so much for sending super chats and super stickers and things like that. You guys are awesome. But remember, it's always safer to eat outside than it is inside. Remember, if you are going to be dining, not only should you be eating outside, but wear your mask when you're not actually eating and drinking. It's sort of counterintuitive and things like that. And it's hard to do because you're like, oh, I'm at a restaurant, I'm keeping my mask off. But no, put your mask back on when you're not eating and drinking. The other things that are going to be really important is not staying at the restaurant longer than you need to be there. This is not the time to have like a boozy brunch and sit there for 3 or 4 hours because it potentially, increases your risk. And one of you just asked about dining in a restaurant. A lot of restaurants are doing dine in now. It's still safer to eat outside. Very important. The restaurant that you choose to go to, if you choose to go to a restaurant, make sure that the seats are 6 feet apart. And if you're wondering like what the restaurants are doing for safety precautions, call ahead before you get there. Say, hey, what are you guys doing? Are your waiters and waitresses wearing masks and things like that? They really should be. I would not go to a restaurant where the waiters and waitresses are not wearing face masks and even possibly face shields along with it. So call ahead to find out what they're doing. Make sure the tables are 6 feet apart, that they're using sanitizing methods and all sorts of things like that. Other things to keep in mind is if you choose to go to a restaurant, if you're driving your car, like say I live in a city so I can walk to restaurants, but if you live in a city where you have to drive, don't valet your car. Park your own car so that no one else is in the car. Make sure that when you get to the restaurant and you're waiting to be seated, stay away from other people when you're sort of outdoors or in the vestibule, like waiting to be seated. Marcia, thank you so much for saying thank you, Dr. Jen. I'm glad this is helpful. So yeah, don't like huddle and wait with other people around the door. If you can, wash your hands when you get to the restaurant, and certainly before you leave, if you're able to do that in a safe way. As I mentioned, wear your mask during all of those times. Brian, I'm glad that you like the suggestion of calling ahead. Yeah, call ahead to find out literally what they're doing. Wear your mask all the time, except for the time that you're actually eating and drinking. Don't luxuriate too long. I know it's not fun because that's one of the best parts of going out to eat, right? Is like hanging out and doing all that stuff, but don't. And be careful with condiments. I went out to eat for I would say like literally the second time. I went out to eat once a few weeks ago. It's my first time doing it. I was really, really nervous. And it was okay. Actually, that restaurant was using disposable plates and things like that, I guess, to cut down on potential transmission. Kid, thank you so much for writing it. I'm glad this is informative. Thanks for joining us. But I went out to eat recently, like for my second time a couple days ago. And, it was actually like I felt okay. Like I washed my hands, I did all that kind of stuff. Oh, condiments. That's what I was talking about. They didn't have condiments on the table, no salt shakers or anything like that. They didn't have ketchup sauces. And that I think is good because you don't want to be touching things other people have. So I didn't have to ask for condiments. So I'm curious to know, like, if I needed ketchup or whatever. Well, actually, I did need ketchup because I had French fries. They actually brought ketchup in like the little self-serve containers, so that's even better. So yeah, don't be touching everything. The other thing is be careful and be mindful of who you go out to eat with. Oh, Dale, you're so sweet. Thank you so much for sending the sticker. Oh, you're so awesome. Oh, and I love that sticker. It's adorable. So be mindful also of like who you're going out to eat with, guys. Remember, I'm really, really careful. And I haven't actually been spending time really honestly with many people outside of my circle, which there's really nobody in my circle. I live alone. I'm not married or I don't have family or anything. If I did, they would be in my circle. But I'm not going out to eat with friends. When I went out to eat the other day, I went by myself because I'm most comfortable doing that. If you choose to go with other people, make sure they're in your bubble, in your circle, that you've been quarantining together. Be careful about going with large groups of people or many people because honestly, they may not be doing the same safety measures as you've been doing. They may not be hibernating and like doing all the stuff you're doing, and they bring different risks to the table, no pun intended. So be very, very careful about that, guys. So yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. Also, so call ahead. I just want to make sure I go through all my points with you guys. Marcia, I'm glad this is really helpful. Thanks for writing in. So we talked about calling ahead, super important. Wearing your mask. Brian, yes, be careful about that circle of friends because honestly, like if you're getting together with your friends, like how different is that at a table at a restaurant when you don't wear your mask because you're eating, than say like fraternizing in a different way? It may not be any different. So you guys, super, just be careful. I would also say, like, this is the thing. We are learning more and more and more. Dale, you're so sweet. Oh, actually, jumping in real quick, Dale just wrote, you have an anniversary coming up. And I know you were thinking about, because Dale is on my Facebook page too. Guys, make sure you check me out on Facebook if you're not as well. I'm at Dr. Jen Caudle. But Dale, I know that you have an anniversary coming up and you're trying to figure out if you should go out for dinner or not. And I totally understand your dilemma. It's going to be different for everyone. And also, another thing to consider, guys, is where you live in the country. There are some parts of the country that have like super high rates of transmission right now. We know, like out in the Midwest, I'm from Iowa originally, like Iowa had these huge numbers of cases in the last few weeks, Dakotas and things like that. If cases are on the rise in your area and like things aren't looking good, that's another variable that you need to consider as to whether you even go out to eat or not. There are other places in the country where, like, look, cases are on the down low. No, that didn't sound right. Sorry. On the decline. Like, look at New York City, for example. I'm not saying you should go out to eat in New York City, but look at New York City. Their positivity rate is very low. That's a very different story than in a place in the country where the positivity rate is very high. So that's another thing you need to keep in mind. Dale, maybe a suggestion for you would be you and your husband ordering takeout, a romantic takeout dinner, and lighting the candles as you mentioned at home. Not a bad idea. Guys, thank you also for the super chats and the superstars and the super chats and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that. Oh, I would also say, last thing I wanted to say about this is, oh, I lost my train of thought. Come on. I'm like, I know I had to say something. Oh, crapola. Well, that's just welcome to my life, which is like forgetting half the time. I'm trying to say. Yeah, so guys, just be, that's what I want to say, is be mindful of your own level of risk, right? That's the other part of this. So let's say you are a high risk individual. You have a lot of risk factors, or you have like some serious ones. Dining out for you may be totally different than dining out for someone who doesn't have very many risk factors. Keep that in mind. If you're an older individual, where we know, say, COVID affects people older in different ways than it does people that are younger, all of these things really should go into your pot to figure out what you should do. And Marcia, you're asking about having a bubble of friends. That's right. We call them quarantine bubbles, or your bubble group, or what have you. You want to stay with people that you have been with. That means people in your household are the safest people, number one. If you choose to get together with other people, which, by the way, is still risky, so I'm not saying it's not risky, but you need to understand where those people have been and what their practices are, because if they don't share the same philosophy as you could be putting yourself at risk. And sometimes what families have decided to do, like if you have like neighbors, like a family, if they have a family that's next door and they've got kids, they might have decided to quarantine together. That means they share the same philosophies, the same practices. They have an agreement about things they will do and not do. They allow their children to play, etc. There's still risk with that, but that is something that some families are choosing to do. One of you just wrote, sorry, I'm getting a little hot and humid out here. I know some of you, one of you just wrote in that you won't be able to, you can't wait till COVID's going to be over. I hear you. I can't wait till COVID's going to be over too, guys. It's like literally changed our world. And the unfortunate thing about it is that people are still dying, literally hundreds, if not sometimes over 1,000. People are dying every single day, which is why this is important. So guys, I totally want you guys to stay safe. Just a quick recap of the tips I want you guys to take with you for today. The CDC study said, oh, Daryl, you said, don't you think that sooner or later, most of us are going to be exposed? Daryl, I do. Interestingly enough, that's a really good question. I do think that at some point, I don't think COVID's going away anytime soon. I think it's going to be around. And I think that, yes, as time goes on, more and more people will be exposed. And Dale, you just had a comment, but I lost it. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, no, I can't get it. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that, but whatever. Sorry, guys. Oh, here we go. Anyway, so just as a recap, the CDC study is one piece of information in the puzzle. It's not everything, but it's an important piece of information. About 300 or so, a little bit more than 300 people in the study, so they're small. But of the people who were diagnosed with COVID, the adults, the adults with is staying outside protective. Marsha, I think you just asked. Being outside in general is better for protecting you against the virus than being inside. Yes, we do think sun affects viruses, but we're not thinking it affects viruses enough in this situation to make that big of a difference. Really, the thing is outdoors and ventilation. That's the key, is ventilation. When you're inside in a restaurant, the ventilation's not as good. So you're outside, things can be ventilated. Dale, you don't see your grandkids because they're around people a lot. And yeah, that's really tough. And I'm sorry, because I know that you love your grandkids and it's tough to not see them. But remember, guys, in this particular study, small study, it was over half the people who were diagnosed with COVID. They reported being twice as likely to have gone to a restaurant the 2 weeks prior. This gives us information to think about. Call ahead to a restaurant if you choose to go. But even before that, think about if it's safe for you to go. Where do you live? What kind of area are you in? Is the positivity rate going up? What's your personal risk level? Who are you going with? Is that a safe thing to be doing? Then call ahead, find out what precautions they're doing. Eat outside rather than eating inside if you still choose to go. Still be careful about fraternizing with other people. That's still potentially a risk. Joy, you said you missed those days when physicians made house visits. Yeah, whoever thought going for a flu shot during a pandemic would be the norm. Yeah, I miss actually when I was a resident, when I was a medical resident, I used to do house visits, which was we did home visits, which was really cool. But yeah, we don't do that anymore. Guys, make sure you get your flu shot. And so yeah, keep your mask on most of the meal, okay, except for when you're eating and drinking. Don't stay very long. Don't touch dispensers and condiments and things like that. Make sure the restaurant's doing all the safety precautions. It's a lot of decisions, I know, but I'm really glad you guys joined me for this super chat. Zachary's Journey, hello. Thank you for joining in. Let's see, Dale, you remember home visits when you were little? That's awesome. And Marsha, you're saying, one last question, is taking proper doses of vitamin D and C at the same time boosting your immune system? Dale, I actually think you posted something on Facebook about how Dr. Fauci said, I think that he was taking vitamin D and C. I have to look into that. I don't know if that, I think you said something about that or posted something about that. So I'll have to take a look. Look, this is what I say about vitamins. It's really important that we have the appropriate nutrients. Now, it's really important that before you start any vitamins or supplements, you got to talk to your doctor because it is possible to overdose on vitamins. A lot of people don't even know that, but that is possible. So you want to make sure you have enough vitamin D and C in your system and stuff like that, but you got to talk to your doctor first because we can actually check labs for vitamin D to see even if you have enough or if you need it. So guys, keep that in mind. Just be very careful. Zachary's Journey, I'm doing good. It's good to see you guys. Thank you for joining me for this live chat. Thank you for all the super chats and the likes and for commenting and things like that. So I'm Dr. Jen. Hey, make sure that you, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love you to do that. That's this channel right here. Job Patriot Warrior, you said we all need vitamin D. Yes, we do all need vitamin D, but some people have enough, so you want to just check before you start taking a supplement. And hey, if you guys are on Instagram or Facebook, maybe check me out there. I'm at Dr. Jen Caudle as well. And yeah, it was good chatting with you guys. So I'll be back probably in the next few days with more topics. Send me some topics you want me to cover, and we'll make sure that we do that during live chat, okay? All right, guys, love you.